Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you through the construction of this garden bed here. So I'm going to be going back in time about 4 months to show you the initial setup of the bed and gradually get through to the process of planting. But before I do that, I do just want to show you how it's looking here. So we've had a bit of heat stress, which is why I've added this shade on top, because the sun's quite harsh for most of the day here. And just quickly, I found that I was overwatering these plants, so even right now sticking just a fingertips depth, I can feel a lot of moisture and coolness, and it resulted in a lot of the zucchinis growing very poorly. And since I've stopped watering as much, you can see the new growth is very happy and healthy. But I'll get more into the zucchinis at the end of the video. For now, we'll jump back in time and I'll show you how I built it. Alrighty, so today we're going to be removing this section here, putting in the new 2 beds. Alright, so as you can see here, we have this old bed that I had laid out, and this is designed to have the one side be in the dark, one side be in the light, and one side be accessible. I also wanted it to be smoothly in line here, just to create the path lines, but we're no longer going to worry about that. So first things first, I'm going to just pull out these kale plants as they've gone to seed anyways, so there's no more point in me keeping them around, as I'll just chuck that off into the compost pile. Now the other one. So you can see they got pretty good leaves to them, so I'll probably actually take those leaves and use them tonight. I have some bacon inside, so I can do some fried kale and bacon on the side of a roast dinner or something like that. Alright, so we've got those main parts out. Next stage is to remove these old bits of wood. Now I'm just going to get my gloves. Now I've wedged this one in quite well. Far out, that one's not moving at all. It's good to know that setup actually works. That's easy. And these are the biggest planks of wood that I have here. Biggest and heaviest. And they're quite wedged in. All of the weeds that are growing throughout are helping wedge in. Making it a bit difficult to pull it out. There we go. Alright, just removing these planks of wood. It was a little bit firm, so I had to get the pitchfork. But I'm just clearing the area to make way for the new bed. I've gotten rid of all the wood here. Now there is a lot of weeds. Now one could spend I could spend 2 hours now clearing it by hand, but instead I want to get out the shovel and just scrape the top layers off. I need this to be a bit more flat, and I need to put the soil to the side anyway, so might as well start with that. I don't need it. I don't want it to come out much further than here, so I'll start around there. Just scraping this with the shovel. There's a lot of rocks and things in the way. But you can see slowly it's taking shape. There's the two different levels from where the garden beds were and the flat ground in between and around. Just getting through there. I found this interesting tool piece. I'm not quite sure what these things are used for, but I've seen them before. I think it might have been snapped off a little bit at the end. There's always a lot of things that I find when digging up here, as the old owner used to use it as his junkyard. But anyways, found some tent pegs. Hey Kenji, how you doing, buddy? Some more pegs, which is interesting. Now Kenji might make it a little bit tricky here. We'll see how he's feeling. Hey Papa boy. What are you doing, big fella? See if he wants to join in with digging. So, the ground was pretty compact through here, and I wanted to level it out as flat as possible. So, I thought I could just use a couple basic tools and just scrape down and expose any rocks or other weeds or things that need to be taken out. Now, I don't have any kind of compactor, so you can see here I'm just walking through with my feet, just trying to pack down the soil a little bit. And Kenji was trying to have some fun as well. From this point, I basically just need to lay down the timber for the new bed. So, I have laid out the area for the bed. I decided that I wouldn't know exactly how big the structure here should be until I'd laid out the dimensions for the perimeter. So with the imaginary bed running around that tree, just similar to this one here, you can see that there's enough space for me to get around here. Now, what I'm going to be doing right now is just drilling together this frame so that it's not loosely in the soil. I just wanted to show you how I'm going to do this. So I'm keeping it loose in the soil here so that it can be positioned around in a final spot, because I feel like it might need to come a little bit down towards me here, just slightly. But yeah, I'm going to basically do a pretty rough job here of just drilling through and trying to wrench in this bolt. So bring the camera a bit closer so you can see. Now, just to give a little bit of context for why I'm using a wrench. I went over to my parents' house and I asked my dad if he had a drill piece that could drill or screw the bolt in. He said that I couldn't, like that size didn't exist. I believe that he was just testing me because I know they do, and I'm sure he has one. I think he just wanted to see what I'd do with the wrench, so with a bit of brute force I was able to get it in. However, you can see here I accidentally got the drill piece stuck and I believe I snapped it in half. Luckily I had drilled it already, so the hole was there, and also that was my own piece, so it's not like I broke someone else's tool. The end piece wanted to swivel out quite a bit, so I just had to stabilise it with my shoe and my foot. But slowly and surely, through the rotten ends, I was able to get these tightened all the way. Just took quite a bit of force. As you can see, me using my entire body to thrust. Gosh, that's a bit funny. But anyways, now we'll move on to the next step. So, I've started filling up the garden bed here, and I just wanted to show you the excuse me. I just wanted to show you the actual compost that I'm using, which is what I've had here in a pile for about 8 months. So this is all a mixture of bits of kitchen scraps from the old compost, lots of leaf litter, grass litter, and even things like this, these cocoa sheets that I got that just have fibre. They're basically weed mats is what their original intention, they're what their original purpose is. But I like to break them up and mix them up into the compost just to add a little bit of extra fibre to suck on. But just through here you can see how nice and rich this compost is, and just how good it looks. There's less worms than I thought there would be, although there are some very big suckers all throughout, so I'm just going through, trying to break it up to get like an even mix. There's also some live stuff that I've chucked in recent times, but yeah, I'm just getting a mix to just chuck through just to be the base. There's a pretty good microbiome through here, which is why I'm going to be using it, so this should be nice and healthy for the garden. So I want this to be a very alive garden bed. I want lots of stuff that can break down for the worms to feed on, and they can continue to break it down. So there's some thicker, leafier, fresher stuff through here, which I'm just trying to spread out underneath to make an even base. That way I can have the kind of older soil that's all ready to go be on top, and all those readily available nutrients to be right there on top. Now, I don't mind if there's lots of sticks throughout or leaf litter, because as I said, I can all break down and keep this to be a alive soil. Because we don't want to use any store-bought soil for this, so no warehouse soil at all. This is all, now it looks like I've chopped this worm up by accident. Poor thing. Yeah, there's no bought nutrients or soil or compost or anything. This is all homemade, so I think that this will make the garden pop off quite a lot faster than when I was using bag soil through last year. Yep, basically, if I can have worms living here, I'll be good to go. So I'll just finish off getting more of the soil in. Alright, I reckon that's pretty good. Managed to get through quite a lot of that compost. So you can see the more mulchy stuff there, and then right at the end there I got down to underneath here. There's some very, very rich, juicy soil, and that's what we want from top. But through here was where I found the most worms, like right now. There we go. So, it's interesting. I think this stuff will be a really good layer for on top. Which is what I've spread around there, so yeah, now I'm just going to clean it up, get the sides, and then figure out what I'm going to plant. So it's been a few days since I filled up the garden bed here. Well, actually, it's been more like a week. You'll notice we actually have a brand new fence behind, which I'll show you in a moment. But I have kept this under a cover for the last week to stop any weeds from growing. I wanted the soil to set in nicely, and just have it all kind of, set in position. So you can see how the bed is looking. For the fun part, I want to show you this new fence that we just got. So we managed to have a gate, so most of it's accessible here. But we managed to get a fence along the whole way, which is absolutely sweet. But yeah, it's been about a week. I'm just about ready to start putting my seeds into a little container to grow inside, which I'll then obviously bring out here to grow. But the next stage for the bed is working out a little cover to stop the rats, mice, possums and dog from eating the babies, the baby saplings. So I'm thinking about just doing a pretty simple 50 centimetre, maybe 60 centimetre high, like half a metre kind of chicken wire fence around. So I was either going to get some star pickets and put them into the corners and then just wire all around, but I'm kind of thinking about actually doing it into the ground on the outside so that the entire bed is quite protected, and just to have a little bit more growing space for the plants to be able to, sit just outside of the bed. But that's what I'll work out next. I think in terms of practicality as well, it'd be easier to have it on the outside. Just something that's short enough for me to be able to bend into. But the other thing I'll have to work out is just exactly how I want to arrange, because I'm going to need some sort of space to be able to walk through here. So I could either make it like I've got a full path through the centre dividing two halves, and then that's enough for me to reach down through most of here. Or I could simply just have a through the middle gap running the whole way. So I just basically have two aisles running alongside here, and then I can just easily bend down and get what I need. I could even just have a path running, like a divider running till about here. It's going to all be covered up, and I don't need to worry too much about the access. But yeah, the other third option that I do have as well is, now that I have this fence here, I could make a small chicken wire fence around the entire garden. I could stop Kenji getting in, but I don't think that would stop the possums getting in, as there's a few little bridges from buildings into the camellias here. But that's right, we'll work that out as well. So, just a little pit stop.
Yeah, bruh.
I'll scatter them. Cheeky fire.
Beauty, bruh.
And now we are a couple of months later, and the zucchinis are going quite well. So to continue on from the start of the video, just talking about the health of these zucchinis here, and you'll notice there's a couple of tomato runners that have just propped up. I'm just leaving them there because they seem to be propping up all over the property, and I want to let the possums eat those instead of my prized possessions. So yeah, I was having some trouble finding that the growth was really unhappy and unhealthy for quite some time. All of these tiny little zucchinis were either not starting or barely fruiting, just struggling in general. And I'm positive it was from overwatering, which is crazy because it's been at least 30 degrees every day, and very sunny. It hasn't really been cloudy, and it's still resulting in but somehow it's still resulting with the soil being wet and not drying out really fast. I guess also adding the shade cloth helped with evaporation. But I suspect that that's what was causing this leaf problem. You can see some of them have already shriveled up and died off. But I suspect all this new growth is staying quite green because it's not having that overwatering problem. So, who knows? But I'm going to continue as it is. My compost has been going quite healthy. This is all created from the last few months, so I don't need to buy a bag of potting mix or anything, hopefully ever again. I think that there's about 400 or 500 litres of compost there. That's a rough estimate. Could be more, considering the fact that it's sunken into the ground, and a lot of that ground is also usable fertile compost. But yeah, so that's been great. I'll give another update for the tomatoes in the next video, and shortly I'll also be doing a full run through of how the garden's looking. But yeah, for now I'll leave it there. This is it was bed number 1. I think I'm calling it, I think I'll still call it bed number 1. Tomatoes can be bed number 2, and then brassicas bed number 3. And then the little bed here for other stuff and flower beds. So I'll keep it consistent. This has been the construction of garden bed number 1. Alright. Well, thank you for watching, and I will catch you later.